We are now continuing with Esoteric Astrology Adventure number 101A, page 338, and we've been talking about this important union within the body of the one about whom naught may be said, with Gemini uniting the Great Bear, which can be considered the 7 head centers within the one about whom naught may be said, whether in the center of the head or above the head, if we use the analogy from the human being, and the Pleiades, either the 7 or the hundreds of Pleiades. If it's the hundreds of Pleiades, is it the head center as a whole? If it's the 7, is it the jewel within the head center? So we have quite a structure there, the head center of this great supercosmic logos consisting of the Great Bear, the Pleiades, and the zodiac, which are the 12 constellations, the 12 petals in this heart and the head center. Then it would remain to be established which particularly were of the Pleiades or of any other constellation represented the throat center. In the earlier days, it seemed as if the 7 Pleiades might be the throat center, but they are the jewel box, and they are the foremost of the Pleiades. And so if the other Pleiades are lesser, and so many of them scattered, they would seem to be a kind of collection of head center properties, with the 7 Pleiades being central to that. But this may be a great deity whose rays include the third ray and the second ray, and to what extent the first ray we have yet to establish. Some theorists have thought that the Pleiades have a sort of 1, 2, 3 lineup, just the way our planetary logos does. Kind of third ray personality, second ray soul, and first ray monad. But I still tend to think that the monad of the Pleiades, given their position in the great chart here, given a position in the third place. See this little green triangle? This is, Keith Bailey made the colors here appropriate long ago. It's an AUM chart, which he has graciously let us use here. This is perhaps the entire one about whom not may be said in the third position, which would tend to indicate its third ray monadic nature. When we're dealing with the rays of great beings or even of human beings, there's nothing that says that the monad and personality cannot be on the same ray. For that matter, there's nothing that says that the monad and the soul cannot be on the same ray. Even the soul and personality at certain transitional points, as we learn from the study of the first ray and the techniques of integration in esoteric psychology too. First ray soul, first ray personality coming in at a certain point after about 3 lives that tend towards greater development of love. So anyway, here we have this triangle, the love energy reaching our solar system primarily through Gemini, which forms with the constellation of the Great Bear and the Pleiades a cosmic triangle. Definitely cosmic. This is the triangle of the cosmic Christ and is the esoteric symbol lying behind the cosmic cross. Perhaps the cardinal cross or the cosmic cross. There is a way to, let's see if I can find this here. There is a way to look at the cardinal cross symbol and CAR, cardinal cross symbol, and wonder whether this particular triangle does not demonstrate as the Great Bear, Pleiades, and Gemini. But then again, it's difficult to know which would go where. In terms of mediating, perhaps the upper point would be Gemini, but in terms of their relative power, it is difficult to say. Certainly the Pleiades as a whole are the strongest center, a cluster, after all, of some 100 stars, 800 stars, 1,000 I meant to say. 800 stars now, maybe more. Maybe by the time we finish it all, we will discover 1,000 stars as a correspondence to the 1,000-petaled lotus. So anyway, here is a triangular symbol for the cardinal cross, which will be explained later. We'll get into it. This is the triangle of the cosmic Christ. In this case, Orion is not included, and is the esoteric symbol lying behind the cosmic cross. Now, when they have the Great Bear of the Pleiades, let's just say mediators between the Great Bear and the Pleiades are usually Sirius, the Little Bear, LTB, Little Bear, and now Gemini. So is there some kind of second ray nature that unites these three? Because we have definitely seen a triangle between the Great Bear, Pleiades, and Little Bear, definitely. Great Bear, Pleiades, and Sirius, definitely. Now Great Bear, Pleiades, and Gemini. So the mediating factors have to have something in common. There is ever the eternal triangle to be found between the fourfold phenomenal appearance. Behind, excuse me, not between. There's ever the eternal triangle to be found behind the fourfold phenomenal appearance. So the cosmic cross, I can pronounce something here, cosmic cross is apparently the cardinal cross. And this great triangle lies behind them, telling us something, perhaps, about the developmental status of Gemini, the Lord of the constellation Gemini, even though it's found within a lesser cross. If human beings in the hierarchy can have different spiritual status, if planets can have different spiritual status, and solar systems or solar logo are different spiritual status, then constellations too, by the law of analogy, can have different spiritual status. Is Gemini one of the strongest and most developed? There is ever the eternal triangle to be found behind the fourfold phenomenal appearance, speaking symbolically and in the words of the old commentary. Upon the golden triangle, the cosmic Christ appeared. His head in Gemini, the head of the cosmic Christ. So apparently, that triangle has Gemini at its head. Does this mean that Gemini, in relation to the Great Bear and Pleiades, is predominant in its power? Or is this a temporary situation? His head in Gemini, 1 foot upon the field of the 7 fathers, of course, the 7 rishis of the Great Bear, and the other planted in the field of the 7 mothers. I suppose his left foot in the 7 mothers and the right foot in the 7 fathers. Let's just say, let's speculate here. Right foot and left foot. Monadically, what is the ray of the logos of the Great Bear? Is it a 1? In contrast, monadically is the monadic ray of the seven mothers, the being that works through the seven mothers. Is it a 3? These two constellations, says AAB here, are sometimes called the seven brothers and the seven sisters, but the seven brothers in a way marry the seven sisters, the seven fathers marry the seven mothers. Thus for eons the Great One stood, his consciousness interned, aware of 3 but not 4. So who is the Great One? In this context, Great One, let us say, is the one about whom? Intent with suddenness, he heard a sound go forth. From a still greater logos, I wonder. Let us put down as a speculation. From a still greater logos, maybe. Arousing to that cry, he stretched himself, reached forth both arms in understanding love, and lo, the cross was formed. We are told it is a cosmic cross, but is it the cardinal cross? That is the question. Is it the cardinal cross? After all, of all the crosses that we have, the cardinal cross is said to relate to cosmic things and to a long series of initiations which involve cosmic beings, such as Sanat Kumara and even our Solar Logos and so forth. But not man yet. Not until perhaps the 5th initiation, when the very beginning of the cardinal cross is stepped upon. He heard the cry of the mother, not the seven mothers, but the mother Virgo, and of the seeker, Sagittarius, and of the submerged fish, Cancer. And then, lo, the cross of change appeared. Though Gemini remained the head, this is a mystery. So Gemini is the head of the cosmic triangle, and also the head of the mutable cross. And are we talking here, or is it the mutable cross that's being formed? Or is it the mutable cross that is being formed? I suppose all crosses in a certain sense can be considered cosmic because they are the medium of expression for cosmic logoi. So what is the mystery? Mystery is, in a way, how can Gemini be both the head of the Great Triangle and also the head of the mutable cross? Because up here we have a golden triangle, the cosmic Christ, the triangle of the cosmic Christ. How cosmic? How cosmic? Let us ask, how, whoops, that's not any good. How cosmic? Is this the love aspect of the one about whom naught may be said? Is that what it is? Or is it something still greater? Because the Pleiades are included. Or are the Pleiades simply a center within the one about whom naught may be said, and is his whole nature contained in all of these constellations? Anyway, the mystery is, how can Gemini be the head of the cosmic Christ and at the same time the head of the mutable cross? The head of the Great Triangle of the cosmic Christ, and also the head of the mutable cross. How so? A mystery. Looks like, again, we might end up with what? Some kind of situation in which the two Geminis become one, And the sixfold structure appearing? Not sure, of course. In this occult statement is hidden one reason why Gemini is regarded as an air sign. We're told that in formula number 1 from Dyna 2, the air is God. And here we're talking about the head of the cosmic Christ. An air sign, for it is cosmically related, as are Libra and Aquarius, to two other points of the airy triplicity in the most peculiar, as two other points in the airy triplicity in the most peculiar way, to the Great Bear, to Pleiades and Sirius. So let us say 3 air signs or constellations related to the 3 great constellations, Great Bear, Pleiades, and Sirius. Another 6-pointed star, Seal of Solomon, is being created here. This relation is essentially a 6-fold one. And you will find a hint as to the resolution of the pairs of opposites, involving, as these 3 constellations do, the 3 ideas of opposition, equilibrium, and synthesis. Opposition, Gemini; equilibrium, Libra; synthesis, the Great Bear, a universal fusion. So in the order of the process, we have Gemini, Libra, and the Great Bear. Gemini, Libra, and the Great Bear. And I suppose that the Great Bear, Pleiades, and Sirius, or perhaps the Little Bear substituting for it, would be considered superior. And yet, each one of these constellations is a member of the heart and the head center of the great being. So you have to kind of look at the human energy system. Let's just keep it on the etheric level. We can go to the astral or other levels, but maybe the etheric level is most explicit. What is the relationship of this 12-fold center in the head to the other chakras? How powerful is it compared to the other chakras? How powerful is any factor within it compared to the other chakras? I mean, the question might be like this. Is the, let's say, one of the petals of course, triangles would be formed there too, wouldn't they? I mean, there would be 3 constellations distributing the 3rd ray in the heart and the head center, the one about whom. But maybe there would be 3 in the head center of man, distributing the 3rd ray. And how powerful are those 3 compared to the throat center through which the 3rd ray comes, the 16-petaled throat center? How powerful is any one of these 3 in the head, distributing the 3rd ray, when compared with the throat center? We don't know yet. We have the feeling that since the 12-petaled center in the center of the head, the heart and the head center for the human being, is the major head center, that it must be more powerful as a whole than any of the other centers. But we don't know how powerful any one of the petals in that heart center in the head are when compared, or is, when compared with one of the other chakras, like the throat center. The heart in the head as a whole would be more powerful than the heart center in the human being. But would the 3 petals in that 12-petal lotus, say ruled by Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces, be more powerful together than the entire heart center? What is the hierarchy here? The hierarchy of strength, what are the priorities? So these things have to be worked out and can be pointed to. Right now, we don't know what those petals in this major head center actually do. DK has not told us too much about what the head center does. He's given us generalities about its general connection with will, and that it is some kind of master control center. But in terms of getting into the esotericism of the head center and the functions of those 12 petals, each one of them, what do they do? Is each one of them somehow connected with one of the petals of the egoic lotus? Well, then, when we're dealing with the one about whom naught may be said, which is spread across cosmic planes, we would have to go not to the cosmic mental plane to find the egoic lotus, which was the prototype. We would have to go to the supercosmic mental plane, which is not even drawn, to find the correspondence, the higher 12-petaled correspondence, which would be, of which the zodiac would be a reflection. So you see, the plot thickens, and the supercosmic planes do come into come into focus. I mean, you know, our solar logos has a great solar angel connected with it, of which our solar angels are but extensions. But if our solar angel, the human solar angel, has its monad not on the cosmic physical plane anymore, then maybe the monad of that greater solar angel, which provides the solar angelic function for the solar logos, would have its monad not on the cosmic monadic plane at all, but not on the cosmic monadic part of this super cosmic physical plane, but maybe we'd have to go to the super cosmic astral plane to find that. Of course, you know, those are wild speculations and mental gymnastics, but it comes when you continue the law of analogy, which he says is infallible in the working out of cosmic relations, although perhaps not in the kind of detail we might hope. Well, you know, we who can barely control our astral body, when we think about those great high things, have a lot of work to do before we get into the position where we can know anything about them. Speculation is one thing, knowledge is another. Reason speculation can be a doorway to knowledge, and in that way the third ray blends into the second ray. The reasoning becomes pure reason, and intuitive revelation. So we have an essentially sixfold revelation, sixfold relation here, and it will tell us something about the resolving of the pairs of opposites. You kind of wonder, in the human energy system, are the petals of the highest head center involved in resolving relationships between the different chakras? It could be possible. So anyway, we have in all processes of resolution the beginning of opposition, the gradual attempt to draw the figure eight around the opposing figures and thereby bring them into some kind of balance or equilibrium and magnetic relationship, and then synthesis. The two become the one. In a way, the figure eights get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until they finally end in the center. It might be stated that, and this is, Gemini forms a point of entrance for the cosmic energy of Sirius. So essentially, we're looking at the possible second ray monad of Sirius, and possibly also of the little bear, and possibly also of Gemini as a whole. If it's functioning monadically, you see these great constellational lords obviously have their own level of functioning. Some of them may function as personalities, some as souls on their own high level. In other words, some might be the correspondents of our non-sacred planets, functioning mostly as personalities. Some the correspondents of our sacred planets, functioning mostly as souls, and some the correspondents of our synthesizing planets, in which the monadic ray becomes increasingly powerful. I can't say that it's functioning totally. According to the monadic ray, maybe that has to happen in the next solar system. So Gemini, the point of entrance for cosmic energies from Sirius. Interestingly enough, Gemini has a lot of the third ray because of its third position and its monastic connection, and so does Sirius, which was more active, or to which we were more receptive even in the last solar system, which was more monastic than ours. So you go to Sirius if you need to learn Manas. It probably has a fifth ray soul. And before we learn the total Sirian love, maybe we have to come in touch with the soul nature of Sirius, though maybe it has a maybe a secondary personality. It's kind of a higher parallel of Venus, I think we will see. Libra is related to and transmits the potencies of the Pleiades. So you kind of wonder about a triangle here. What about a triangle of Pleiades, Libra, Saturn? Or, yeah, in terms of a karmic kind of triangle. Of course, the law of karma is, in a way, wielded from Sirius, but the involvement of Libra and Saturn in relation to the Pleiades does give it kind of a karmic content. So Libra is a third ray constellation in this world period, primarily, although that second ray is really strong, and you wonder at what level it's operating and what level the planetary, the zodiacal lord of Libra is operating. So Libra is related to and transmits the potency of the Pleiades. The third ray is there. Aquarius expresses the universal consciousness of the Great Bear. So here we find the first ray. There are also different types of mind that are probably going to be discussed here in a minute, related to Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, although whether there will be a really accurate correspondence, it's difficult to say. Aquarius expresses the universal consciousness of the Great Bear, so we expect this kind of a 2, 3, and probably 1 here. We expect that as the first ray is important to the Great Bear, it will also be important to Aquarius, which we know transmits the fifth ray, of which in a way the first ray is the higher correspondence, and there's something of the third ray in Aquarius as well. So looking for 3 major rays through any of these signs, whether or not they are all active in this particular world period, whatever such a world period means. I'm sure it is a mystery of the higher initiations why there should be, for some constellations, 3 rays at work with respect to our solar system. We don't know with respect to other solar systems how it goes. 2 rays for some, and 1 ray for still some others. Why that kind of difference when we would expect the different periodical vehicles of the lords of the constellations to be ruled by at least a couple of different rays, maybe 3. You kind of wonder, though, when you look at the solar logos, he does presently have a secondary soul and secondary personality. And if his monadic ray is currently the 4th ray, as some have speculated, then the ultimate monadic ray, given his heart center function of our solar logos, will be the 2nd, in which he'd be a 2-2-2. So you kind of, well, but not forever, right? Because in the next solar system, if the monadic ray is functioning, it will be a first-ray personality. It will be a first-ray solar system. You're not going to get it from his soul ray, which is not going to change. And his monadic ray is not the first, given his function. So there would be a 2-2-1. Anyway, will there ever be a time in space when all the rays of these great beings are the same? Maybe temporarily, because the lower ray is changeable, as is even the soul ray. And who knows, maybe in the earlier days when we've had like 5 solar systems now, this is our 5th solar system, we may discover that the soul ray of the Solar Logos was not ray 2 at first. Maybe it was one of the rays of attribute, either ray 4 or ray 6, according to the method of transference to the second ray. So, many mysteries here and open to speculation, but in any case, Gemini seems to be the conduit for largely second ray energies, though the third ray is present in both Sirius and Gemini. And then the question is Sirius greater than Gemini? Well, by Sirius, do we mean the sevenfold solar system, of which 7 solar systems, of which ours is one? Is that a Sirian system, and is that somehow greater than one of the petals in the heart and the head center of the one about whom naught may be said? Maybe. Libra is another one of those petals, and the Pleiades, comprising something connected with the head center, maybe the throat center or the jewel in the head center. The Pleiades seems to be the source. So we do have an interesting triangle that may be developed here. We might say it is the dragon, the Pleiades, and Libra. And it could be a green dragon in a way. We could be dealing with a strong Saturnian connection here, a third-ray connection. Because, but the point is, this would I would have to change my mind about that, because more a second-ray connection involving the cosmic Buddhi coming through the dragon, from the dragon through the Pleiades, transmitters of cosmic Buddhi, and Libra having a second-ray aspect to it. Otherwise, a balance attained, unconditional love. What is the factor here for Libra? It says of Libra, divine love and understanding, balance attained, divine love. There's a second ray component, isn't there? But right now we're dealing with the third ray mostly. But through Libra and the Pleiades can come the second ray, just the way the third ray can come through Gemini, so it seems, and through Sirius, the monastic part of it. With Aquarius, does Aquarius have a strong ray 1 component to correlate it with the Great Bear? Maybe. Universal consciousness of the Great Bear. But the universal consciousness of the Great Bear is not just going to be of our solar system, it's going to be of a much larger universe. It could be confined to the one about whom naught may be said. It could go on and beyond that, of a much larger, and I will put in quotes, universe, because that is a adaptable term. It might be profitable for you to bear in mind at this point what I've often told you. I mean, he's dealing with high considerations here. He said he would deal with causal considerations, subjective considerations, did he not? It might be profitable for you to bear in mind at this point what I've often told you, that the Great White Lodge on Sirius is the spiritual prototype of the Great White Lodge on Earth. And sometimes this lodge on Sirius is called the Blue Lodge, and sometimes Sirius is called Blue Star. Although its spectrum seems to be largely white, but still, on occasion, the Blue Star, maybe because of its rays. Even the esoteric ray of the fifth ray, soul of Sirius, is indigo. So, second ray, indigo or blue. Esoterically, the fifth ray, blue, maybe Blue Star. The Great White Lodge on Sirius is the spiritual prototype. Notice the word spiritual being used in a very high sense there. Not just confined to the spiritual triad, high. The spiritual prototype of the Great White Lodge on Earth, of which modern Masonry is the distorted reflection. Masonry is, in a way, the reflection of the Great White Lodge on Earth, and its influence even comes from the Blue Star. Masonry is very Syrian in its origin. its Syrian nature related to the rites of the Egyptians, just as the personality is a distorted reflection of the soul. We're told, though, that the angel of the presence is the shadow of the monad. Sometimes one is used to thinking of the monad as the original, the soul as the reflection, and the personality as the shadow. He is flexible in his use of the word shadow and reflection. I would remind you again of the relation between Gemini and Masonry, to which reference has frequently been made. A great, in a way, educated body. Because we have in Gemini always the urge to educate. It is maybe the primary sign of education, and education, depending on which references you cite, has been associated with the third ray and the second ray. The will to evolve of the third ray, for instance, has been connected with education. We know that in another way, the second ray is the great educational ray. Well, both of these rays seem involved with Gemini. The third ray because of its third position, just as Mercury seems to have a third ray personality as well as an ultimate third ray monad. And the second ray simply because DK gives it to us as a source of magnetic interrelationship in the zodiacal sphere and also in the horoscopes of advanced people. The sun, the triangle between the sun sign and its opposite sign in Gemini has to be considered. A close consideration of what I have said above will serve to emphasize in your consciousness the importance of Gemini, really a sign through which the ageless wisdom has somehow reached us, through Master DK and KH and Alice Bailey and Foster Bailey and Mary Bailey and so forth. A close consideration of what I have said above will serve to emphasize in your consciousness the importance of this constellation, Gemini, and the inner significance of the Mutable Cross being strongly Christ-associated. One wonders, in a sense, whether, well, I don't think it really can be said, but the Christ impulse seems associated with the fixed cross as well, and so does the Buddha. Although in a way the Buddha's establishment of the meaning of accepted discipleship, well, that's a fixed cross phenomenon as well, isn't it? It's not part of the Mutable Cross, but a strongly Christian symbol, we're told the Mutable Cross is. All the constellations on this cross mark points of change. Don't they all, though? Points of change, or are the custodians of those energies which produce the needed periods of reorientation. Well, Gemini, taking the higher of the pairs of opposites into consideration, Virgo, nurturing the inner Christ until it becomes the revealed Christ, Sagittarius, marking the first two initiations as they proceed towards the solar initiation, starting with the third, Pisces as it brings about relinquishment, on the Mutable Cross to become the fixed, and on the fixed cross also to become eventually the cardinal cross. So Pisces marking the end of a cycle. Those changes which mark a reorientation towards something higher. Reorientation towards something of a higher nature. Preparatory to fresh developments and new activities. Well, yes, we may have been concerned with the personality, now we're concerned with the soul. We may have been concerned with the mother, now we're concerned with the sun. We may have been concerned with the planetary initiations, and certainly Sagittarius has a strong connection to the planet Earth and its initiations, and now we're concerned with the solar initiations. We may have been concerned with the fourth kingdom of nature, and now we are definitely entering the fifth. So I've gone through Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, in that order, showing periods of reorientation towards higher, new activities and fresh developments. DK will now point out something. It might be of interest if I pointed out that quote: "The mutable cross brings about those conditions which will produce great periods of change in the life of a planet, of a kingdom in nature, or of a human being." Mercury plays a part in this. Mercury is associated with, well, it has a big relation to the mutable cross, being the ruler of two of the signs, Gemini and Virgo, and exalted in Virgo, and naturally falling then in Pisces, where it's also in a sense in detriment, and in detriment in Sagittarius, though effective in its symbolism, indicating some of the Sagittarian activities. The fleetness of foot of the Sagittarian, the going from here to there, following the arrow, and so forth. But the kingdoms of nature are part of the microcosm of humanity. So kingdoms of nature, part of humanity, and so they, being connected with the lower lives, can be affected by the mutable cross. But what about the higher kingdoms of nature? Does this also apply to them? Not sure here. Well, great periods of change and mutability. Periods of mutability and of change. So, flux for the mutable cross. The fixed cross brings about as a sequence to these interchanges certain great points of crisis which are unavoidable and present definite opportunity. Now you have to ask, is this in a planetary sense or a microcosmic sense, or both? And Saturn is not really a ruler of any signs on the fixed cross, but it does pin a man to that cross by the impulse of soul duty, and makes him fulfill those duties. So there are certain interchanges of a microcosmic nature which reorient the man towards the life of the soul. He begins to choose the life of the soul. Here under number 1, he didn't really talk about whether we're dealing with the macrocosm, a larger picture, or the human being, but apparently there are interchanges that occur in both. And we might call these what? Preparations for fixity. Either in terms of microcosmic soul development or macrocosmic soul development. After all, the macrocosm has to develop the soul. We're in the solar system of our present solar logos, and he's taking initiation in the solar system, whereas probably before it was a question of personality development, and he did not take initiation in the cosmic sense, the solar logoic cosmic sense. So the fixed cross brings about as a sequence, following these interchanges, certain great points of crisis. I suppose where the possibility of going in two directions in such a way that the result would be important in a high degree, crucial, related to the word crisis and cross. Certain great points of crisis which are unavoidable and present definite opportunity. And the minute you have the word opportunity, you understand why the presence of Saturn. So the word opportunity reveals why Saturn is involved. If we face these opportunities, we find ourselves liberated from certain aspects of form and more expressive of the soul. Cardinal cross is responsible for bringing about certain great points of synthesis. This makes sense, of course, as a consequence of both change and crisis. So he's given us the words, hasn't he? Mutable cross equals change. And fixed cross equals crisis. And cardinal cross, CDX, equals synthesis. Now, what's interesting here is that Jupiter is responsible for the focusing of energies at this point. So Jupiter mediates energies from the cardinal cross. However, it's not found in Aries. It's found as exalted in Cancer. It's not found in Libra, except as a decanate ruler, and it's not found in Capricorn. Just the way Saturn is not found on the fixed cross, though Mercury is found on the mutable cross as rulers there, as a ruler there. So Jupiter is one of the monadic planets and rules the monadic plane. And synthesis is of the monad. So that makes sense. These are very high factors with which we have to come somewhat to terms. Jupiter is bringing about synthesis by conveying to us the energies of the cardinal cross. Jupiter has that great engirthing tendency to bring all things together, that is synthesis. Saturn brings about points of crisis where one must choose. You can't have both. Go this way or that. Later maybe you can have both under the influence of synthesis. And Mercury is that mutable planet with its possible third-rate personality bringing about a great deal of change. Flux, fluctuation, correlating with let instability do its work. Well, it is the cross of many changes and therefore of instability. Let instability do its work. Okay. I will enlarge upon this later, but the above will give you, even in this brief form, certain positive ideas of great importance. And when he tells us this, we don't quite know why they are of great importance or in what context. Usually, let us say, context will be greater than that of the human being. Certainly, this is a cosmic astrology, a systemic astrology, an interplanetary astrology. It's not just dealing with geocentric man, is it? So studying this most occult of all the Tibetan's books certainly enlarges our point of view and will indicate certain situations which can be looked for in the lives of those whose sun is in one or other of these signs and on one or other of these crosses. Well, I suppose as you get to be a higher type of initiate, well, maybe there is a reflection here. It looks like quite cosmic considerations, but there is always a reflection of cosmic considerations. Some human beings are reaching the point of synthesis. They are initiates of the 4th, 5th degree and beyond. Some human beings are struggling to express as souls, and they are working their way up to the 4th degree, and they are on the fixed cross. Even though stepping off the fixed cross is done somewhat following the 3rd degree, and the 4th degree is not taken on the fixed cross, we don't know how soon before mounting the fixed cross one dismounts the... No, excuse me. We don't know how soon before taking the 4th initiation one dismounts from the fixed cross. In any case, mounting the cardinal cross is not an immediate factor because it cannot occur before the fourth initiation. It has to occur after. He tells us the fourth initiation is not taken on any cross that we know of. In the expression of the activity of this sign of duality, it is subjective energy we must consider as it produces objective effects. Well, this goes very much for the etheric body, doesn't it? Because we would consider the ethers to be subjective energies which produce manifested objective effects, would we not? But they're all higher degrees of subjectivity, obviously, and every area of subjectivity turns out to be, from a certain perspective, an area of objectivity. This sign controls esoterically the heart of our solar system, and thus controls the pulsation of life, which sustains all that is. There's a kind of interestingly, a first ray connotation, as pulsation is a first ray mode of energizing. Now, the heart of our solar system is found where? The heart of the solar system might be found on the second subplane, on the monadic plane of the solar system. Is the heart of our solar system the same as the heart of the sun? Maybe not. Maybe the heart of our solar system is found on the second sublevel, or the monadic sublevel of the cosmic physical plane, as a higher correspondence to where the human being's heart center is found on the second subplane. I think you can see that here. And if we got close enough to this drawing, we would see that heart centers are on the second subplane. This goes also for the etheric level. I showed you the emotional heart centers on the second, or etheric subplane, and the solar system is considered to be only the etheric physical planes. In other words, what's going on in the astral body of the cosmic astral body of the solar logos, or the cosmic mental body of the solar logos, is not considered to be part of the solar system per se. So in a way, our etheric physical body is our solar system. So maybe the heart, Gemini, is connected to that heart. On the other hand, it might be connected to the heart of the sun. So there would be then a kind of, but could there be a kind of triangle between Gemini, solar logos, and Sirius, which would relate to the heart of the sun? Could there be? Gemini is therefore connected with the heart of the sun. Well, okay, there's your answer. Because the heart of our solar system here is apparently discussed as the heart of the sun, even though the heart center of our solar system in an etheric sense would have to be on the cosmic physical plane. Now, whether it's on the Buddhic level or on the monadic level is a point to debate. Whether vortices that occur on the Buddhic level, some of them have vortices starting on higher levels and working their way down. That's something to consider. Some of the chakras of the solar logos and planetary logos do occur, it appears, only on the Buddhic level. But you kind of wonder if this kind of energy is working its way down from a monad, a vorticular motion, a third aspect motion within a monad, if it doesn't have to work down through all the planes and corresponding vortices found on all the planes, which end up demonstrating, for instance, on the Buddhic plane. Anyway, we do have the picture in which the base of the spine center, the sacral center, the solar plexus center, etc., are working out on the etheric levels of the emotional and physical plane, and also on the mental plane. And the higher etheric chakras, or the higher chakras in the etheric correspondences on these different level, different planes, are working out on the upper three. So we have to contrast this chart with the statement sometimes found that all the chakras of the planetary logos, for instance, or maybe the solar logos, are found on the Buddhic plane. Are they also found on higher planes? That's the question. So anyway, it's the heart of the sun we're talking about. Gemini is therefore connected with the heart of the sun, just as Cancer is related to the physical sun. So we have Cancer, Pleiades, physical sun. Cancer, Pleiades, let's get that straight, and physical sun. And we have Gemini, Sirius, heart of the sun, right? Also, Gemini, Sirius, heart of the sun. And he carries it further. Aquarius is related to the central spiritual sun. So Aquarius must have some first ray connection, even though the fifth ray is what is said to be passing through it primarily in this world period. So then we have Aquarius, Great Bear, central spiritual sun, I suppose. Aquarius, Great Bear, central spiritual, central spiritual sun. Oh, CSS, okay. So he's dealing with these three air sign constellations. He will deal with them in terms of mind. Now he's dealing with them in terms of their relationship to different aspects of the sun. So here again you have a significant triangle of three aspects of the sun in a most mysterious fashion. Mysterious to us, mysterious to him. Sounds like when dealing with cosmic matters, we are dealing with mysteries which are not to be easily resolved in our lower initiations. So he tabulates it here. Cancer, physical sun, third aspect, does bring the third ray, intelligent activity of the whole. Gemini, heart of the sun, second aspect, okay. Now notice that Cancer does bring in the third ray, Gemini does bring in the second ray, love of the whole, and Aquarius, we're not told about the first aspect. We're only told about the fifth, which is kind of an extension of the first. Central spiritual sun, first aspect, the will of the whole. What is the whole? Can it be the one about whom naught may be said, in which these constellations play the part of petals in the heart and head center of that great being? So it seems more and more that Aquarius must have a first ray aspect. Sometimes it seems so very clear and then one forgets that. It has a fifth ray aspect, or fifth ray. He hints at the sign being the conveyor of the third ray, having much mobility in it, and it is the third sign counting backwards from Aries on the clockwise wheel, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. The position is important sometimes in relation to the rays. I think you can find that. And then, what about the first ray for Aquarius? Somewhere he talks about a great constellation behind Aquarius, or connected with Polaris, which seems to have a very powerful first ray connection. Well, okay, I don't think I want to begin this next paragraph. It seems too big to take up. So we are at the end of Esoteric Astrology 101A, and we are on, whoops, number lock. No good. Let's just number lock. And we're on page, what? 351. On page 351. And we are beginning Esoteric Astrology Adventure 101B, page 351. We've been talking about the subjectivity of the sign Gemini, and indeed his application of the sign Gemini to the human being has been much less than his discussion of its cosmic aspects. So let us then close simply with an Om, and we'll get on to the next part. Thinking of the importance of the sign Gemini as the paramount sign of the Mutable Cross, and also the head of the cosmic Christ triangle, the golden triangle, the head of the cosmic Christ. Okay, good. We will move on in just a moment.